They say that failure is our best teacher, but who the hell said that the failures have to be our own? Today, I'm gonna be showing you my 5 biggest training mistakes that have plagued me an unbelievable amount. These have prevented gains, they've caused injuries. Adopting these failure lessons and avoiding them is gonna save you a ton of time and, like I said, a ton of injuries. Check it out. Okay, number 1 was neglecting muscles that I couldn't see. My mirror muscles, the things that you and I see from the very beginning, include your chest, your abs, your shoulders, your biceps. You see these muscles, you look at them all the time. What you don't see when you're looking into a mirror, your back. You don't really see the triceps too much, your rear delts, your hamstrings, your glutes, your lower back. You don't see those muscles, so in your mind, they kind of don't exist. You might know to train them, but you probably don't train them with the kind of intensity that you're supposed to. I know that this was a huge thing for me. My back was one thing that really suffered. My back and my posterior head of my deltoid as well. The development there, I've been having to catch it up. For one, it looks bad. Like you can tell, oh look, you haven't been training your back, you know. What kind of lifter are you? I've built it up over a while now, so it doesn't look that bad anymore, but there's still a ton of room for growth. But not only that, but the amount of injuries that I've sustained too. When there's imbalances like that, like for the main thing here, my posterior head and my deltoid, I've been sustaining a lot of shoulder injuries, and because the back isn't as strong as the front torso here, the back plays a big role in the amount of bench press that you're gonna be able to do. There's a common saying and it goes, if you want to increase your bench press, you got to increase your rows. And that is so true. The more I've strengthened up my upper back here by focusing on that more so than just my chest or my shoulders as of the past year or two, I've noticed bench gains go up significantly. And that's been with my injuries that I've been having here as well. In spite of these, with the increasing the strength of my back and my posterior head and my deltoids, I've noticed my bench game go up. The width of my body looks a lot better. I look more symmetrical. And those injuries that I was sustaining, they're less common as well. I've noticed some more strength in my shoulder joints now because of a balance. I'm not fully internally rotated. And that's gonna bring us into thing number 2, which was not training my rotator cuff. I never trained my rotator cuff. Again, it's a muscle group that you don't really see. Actually, you can't see it at all. The rotator cuff, it's a muscle group that lines the shoulder joint here, and it's covered in deltoid muscle. So you don't see it at all. But the penalty for not training this was, again, this was partially one of the things that ran into my AC joint injuries, was I was developing internal rotation. So here, I'll show you what it looks like here. So my shoulders began to internally rotate. And this was partially due to the fact that I was just training all the mirror muscles and not doing so much of my backside that I couldn't see. And that internal rotation was putting my shoulder joint in that place where it was gonna be easily injured. And it did end up getting injured on a bench press when I was trying to max out by myself and I couldn't get it up, and the joint was off balance, so it kind of tore itself a little bit. And then the other one compensated after a while. So now that I've adopted all of this rotator cuff training, so all these external rotations, which I do every single workout prior to my upper body training as a warm-up, I've now been able to strengthen that. I don't have so much of an internal rotation now. I've now been able to put the shoulder joint kind of close to a symmetrical point right now. It'll still take a little bit more external rotational exercise to get it back to be completely centered, but I haven't had much shoulder problems because of this. And also, like I said, that internal rotation isn't so pronounced there anymore. The shoulder joint's gone back and it looks a lot better too, and it feels a lot better as well. And not to mention, every time I do these before, like those external rotations, before I get into a set of like heavy bench press or heavy shoulder press, I feel like my body's much more prepared for the movements. I feel like, the muscles are prepared and that they're able to actually lift more as well. They don't feel all, locked up and stiff because I'm getting the blood flow moving in there. The muscle has been warmed up properly, and because of that, I'm able to execute my upper body workouts much more effectively. Okay, number 3, and all of these keep flowing into each other, is not properly warming up. I used to just go into workouts and just exercise. I'd get my gym clothes on, get into the gym, and just start lifting. This was partially another one of the reasons that caused these AC joint injuries. That was when I did that and I just went into my bench press without properly warming up and I snapped my shit up. Properly warming up is so incredibly important for not only just preventing injuries, but for getting you actually into the mind state to exercise. When I'm going through my external rotational exercises and I'm doing some light warm-up sets before the exercise I'm about to get into, like I'm talking really, really light, like 30 to 40% of my max effort weight, performing like 15 to 20 repetitions on each set, your mind gets into it a bit more, your muscles are a little bit more prepared too, you're getting that blood flowing through your body, and you're able to just attack your workouts a little bit more better. You're able to get your mind into the state that you need to be into if you want to crush your workout, as opposed to, you know, finishing a full day of work, you're walking into the gym, your mind's totally not on exercising, it's focused on whatever you're working on prior to that, and you don't feel like working out, and as a consequence, you have a really shit workout. So that's one of the main reasons, that's one of my favorite reasons that I like it, and obviously the benefit of preventing injuries is also incredible as well, but I've mentioned that so much in the first two, it's kind of an inevitable benefit of that, but my favorite aspect about it is definitely getting mentally prepared before I actually get into my workout and preparing the muscles as well, so that they can attack the workout as effectively as possible. Okay, thing number 4 would be not using resistance bands. When I started using resistance bands, the amount of benefit that your muscles are able to attain from these things is just incredible, because one, you're able to shock the muscles with like this new form of resistance. The further the band gets pulled out, the more intense the band's tension gets. So by doing that, you're able to shock the muscles from first doing that. Number 2, the variety of exercises that you're able to do with resistance bands, like there's so many exercises you can do with these things that you can't do with like a regular set of dumbbells or a regular set of barbells. And my number 1 favorite thing about using these bands is the amount of explosive movement that you're able to get from these. Because the band gets more tense as you're trying to pull it out, you're gonna need to provide the muscles with more tension to push the resistance that way. And as a consequence, your movements are gonna have to get more explosive as you're pushing through the movement. By constantly using these explosive movements, your strength is really going to be able to increase, and I definitely notice these with my hamstring curls. Whenever I'm trying to do them with the bands, like the amount that your hamstrings are able to strengthen off this is just insane. And then also if you toss these on like a squat too, and when you hook them on from the end of the bars to the lower end of the rack there, and you have to really press it up in the top of the movement is probably the most difficult. The speed of which your maxes will go up on an exercise such as a squat, and you can do this on a bench press too, is absolutely mind-blowing. So that's probably one of my favorite reasons I love resistance bands, and they need to be adopted in any weight training regimen as of right now. All right, thing number 5 was not shocking the muscles. We all hit plateaus, they happen. You've been benching for a couple of weeks, you finally got it up to like 240 pounds, you're super proud. But for the next 6 weeks, you haven't been able to move it at all. You haven't been able to budge that max up no matter what you do. You've been pushing to failure every time, but you can't seem to get that max effort lift up. Well, listen, your body adapts to the same kind of repetitive movements and exercises, and as a consequence, it's not gonna need to get stronger. You need to constantly change this thing up. One of my favorite ways to do this is by providing super high volume. Not really super high, because some of these guys do like 50 rep sets, and like that's just insane, but high volume. So what I'm normally doing is rep ranges of about 8 to 12 repetitions, but after my body's kind of plateaued on exercise such as a squat, then that's when I like to go and say, let's try some 20 rep squats. I'll tell you this much, absolutely grueling. That from rep 15 to rep 20, absolutely grueling. But the amount of strength gains that you're able to make from shocking the muscles with such a high volume of repetition is absolutely insane. And that was another one of those things that was really able to help me shoot my squats up and shoot my bench presses up, or even my shoulder presses. Any exercise really is when you start to adopt these really high volume exercises. But like I said, this is just shocking the muscles. It's not just high volume sets. It involves changing up the exercises every so often, like changing every single exercise with a new exercise every 2 to 3 weeks, just so you can give your body something new, so you can target the muscles in different ways, so you can hit different areas of the muscle fiber, so you can hit more volume of the muscle fiber. Not just that, but things such as force negatives, which has been incredible for my pull-ups, for my lat development. I've been doing 6 repetitions of like as slow as I possibly can, forced negative repetitions. And that's just when you're coming down as slowly as you possibly can. They're absolutely grueling, but the amount of lat development that I've been able to get and like strength gains in that area has been insane as well. And then isometric holds too. So I did a video recently about a crazy routine for you to get your shoulder development up. And one of the exercises was an iron cross hold followed by 15 repetitions of the lateral raises. So the iron cross hold would go, you'd hold the dumbbells out completely straight out next to you, hold that for 15 to 20 seconds, and then directly get into regular lat raises or side lateral raises for about 15 to 20 repetitions. By doing these things, you're gonna be providing stimulus for your muscles that they're not so commonly used to, and as a consequence, the amount of gains that come from this, extraordinary. So if you're hitting a plateau, if you've been in a plateau for the past 3 to 6 weeks, try changing things up, and try changing things up significantly. If you've been doing 10 reps, I'm not saying just do 15 reps, try doing 20, and if not that, try and do 30 repetitions. I promise you the amount of gains you're gonna be able to make is incredible. By not doing this, you're gonna be wasting your time, you're gonna be stuck in a plateau forever. That's not what we're here to do. We're not here to just work out. We want to see gains. So there you guys go. My 5 biggest training mistakes that were standing in the way of a lot of gains that I was able to make, and also were causing a lot of injuries. I hope you guys were able to get some benefit out of those, and you're able to learn from the mistakes that I've made, so you don't have to make them yourself. You can save yourself a ton of time and a ton of injuries as well. If you guys enjoyed the video, then be sure to give it a like down below, and also be sure to subscribe for weekly workout tips and nutrition tips that you won't want to miss. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.